Dito Pello ChatGPT. Here is the first saga-like section for Gefjon, kept richly detailed and within your requested range. Introduction to Gefjon. In the halls of Asgard, among the shining company of the Æsir, there dwells a goddess both mysterious and mighty, Gefjon, the giver, the taker, the one who shapes land and destiny with her cunning hand. She is often called a virgin goddess, yet not in the manner of one untouched by desire, but in the sense of one free of bonds, who answers to none but herself. To the skalds she was a figure of independence and sovereignty, honored not only for her beauty but for her wisdom, foresight, and strange power to grant or withhold fertility. Gefjon's name itself means, the giver, and in this her nature is revealed. She gives wealth to kings and harvest to farmers, she grants the gift of children to the barren, and she can strip away blessings from the unworthy. In her hand lies both abundance and emptiness, a power feared as much as it is revered. Unlike Frigg, who rules with gentle constancy, or Freya, who blazes with passion, Gefjon stands apart, her ways more secretive, her choices more cunning. The old tales speak of her as a wanderer between worlds. Some skalds whispered that she once walked among the Vänern, for her powers of fertility and foresight are kin to theirs. Others tell that she belongs wholly to the Æsir, dwelling in halls bright as dawn, her spindle and staff close at hand, her mind ever turning with hidden schemes. Yet all agree that Gefjon was honored in the rights of women, for to her were offered prayers for children in safe birth, and in her name many sought the promise of future generations. But Gefjon's power was not bound only to the hearth or to the womb. She was a shaper of the earth itself, a goddess who could draw new lands from the sea and carve the face of Midgard. Her myths tell of cunning bargains with kings, of the strength of oxen that were once her own sons, and of how she tricked mortals and giants alike to gain glory for herself and for the gods. In these tales she is no passive figure, but an active force, wielding wit as a weapon and sovereignty as her shield. Above all, Gefjon is remembered for her cunning with King Gylfi of Sweden, who sought to test the Æsir's power. In this tale, Gefjon proved herself the equal of Odin in trickery, outwitting the mortal king and shaping the very land of Denmark. Her myth, like her nature, blends beauty with guile, fertility with sovereignty, and generosity with ruthlessness. Thus the skalds sang, Gefjon is the goddess who gives and takes, who bears both spindle and plough, who walks freely and binds none. She is the mother of lands, the mistress of cunning bargains, and the silent power behind many fates. Long ago, in the days when gods still walked openly among mortals, there ruled in Sweden a king named Gylfi. Wise in some things and cunning in others, he often wondered how great the power of the Æsir truly was. For word had reached him of their might, their wisdom, and the strange beauty of their goddesses. Gylfi, curious and bold, resolved to test them. It was then that Gefjon came to his hall. Some say Odin sent her, others that she went of her own will, seeking adventure beyond Asgard. Fair and tall she was, with a gaze that could pierce the heart, and in her manner lay both majesty and secrecy. Gylfi welcomed her as an honored guest, for no man would turn away one of such presence. But he also sought to measure her power. He offered her a bargain, cloaked in courtesy but sharpened with trickery, she might claim from him as much land as she could plough in a single night. To Gylfi, it seemed an easy jest. What could one woman, even a goddess, plough in so short a span? A few furrows, perhaps, no more. He thought he would win praise for generosity while losing nothing of worth. But Gefjon, smiling with eyes that glimmered like starlight, accepted without hesitation. For though she bore no plough herself, she possessed sons born of a giant, strong and strange beyond mortal measure. These 4 sons, fierce and mighty, she transformed into great oxen, their shoulders broad as mountains, their hooves striking like thunder. To them she fastened a colossal plough, and with a cry she set them to the task. All night the oxen toiled, tearing through soil and stone with a strength no mortal beast could match. The earth groaned and shuddered, forests toppled, rivers split, and the land itself was torn from its place. Gefjon urged them on, her hair streaming in the wind, her voice a command that even mountains obeyed. By dawn, the work was done, a vast stretch of earth had been wrenched free, carried westward across the sea. Where once it had lain became a deep lake, later called Lake Vänern, whose shape still mirrors the land that was taken. And the stolen earth she set down in the sea, and there it became an island, Zealand, Sjælland, the heart of Denmark. Thus Gefjon won more than any mortal hand could hope, and Gylfi, outwitted, could do nothing but marvel. So the skalds tell, with both laughter and awe, how Gefjon's cunning triumphed. With beauty she charmed, with wit she bargained, and with power she reshaped the very face of Midgard. From that day, she was honored as the founder of Zealand, and kings of Denmark traced their line to her gift. For Gylfi had sought to test the gods, but in truth it was he who had been tested, and found wanting before Gefjon's might. When Gefjon set her plough to the land of Sweden, it was no ordinary team that drew it. For though many tales speak of her as a virgin goddess, untouched and unbound, others whisper of a time when she lay with a giant beyond the walls of Asgard. From that union came 4 sons, mighty in stature, strange of form, beings neither holy god nor holy yokel. These sons were not raised for hearth or hall, but for toil and strength. Their arms were as thick as tree trunks, their backs broad as hills, their voices deep as thunder rolling through mountain valleys. Yet their nature was restless, their power too great to be contained by mortal tasks. And so Gefjon, with her wisdom and her will, transformed them when the need arose. Into oxen she turned them, beasts of such enormity and might that no plough of Midgard could hold them, save the one she herself fashioned. On that fateful night in Gylfi's land, when the bargain was struck, these sons turned oxen bent their necks beneath the yoke. Their hooves churned the earth as if it were mere sand, their breath steamed like winter storms, and their bellowing shook the hills. All through the night they tore the land from its roots, carrying with them forests, fields, and rivers as though the world itself yielded to their strength. Gefjon strode beside them, her hand upon the plough, her voice urging them onward. Though they were bound in beast shape, they remained her sons, and their bond with her was one of fierce devotion. They labored not for reward but for the honor of their mother, the goddess whose cunning would outwit a king and whose will none could resist. When dawn came and the land lay torn away, they carried it across the sea, their shoulders straining beneath the weight of earth and stone. In the waves they trod as if on solid ground, and when at last they set it down, the island of Zealand rose from the waters. There they rested, their work complete, and Gefjon blessed them for their strength. The skalds remembered this tale with wonder, for never again did such oxen tread the earth. Some say they returned to their giant shape and wandered into the wilds, never to be seen again. Others claim they remained as oxen, their forms hidden in the hills of Zealand, their breath rising as mists in the morning, their hoofbeats echoing in distant thunder. Thus Gefjon's sons became part of the land itself, creatures of stone and soil, remembered in the very shape of the earth. And in their labor lay not only their mother's triumph, but the mark of gods upon Midgard, for through their strength, the world was reshaped, and the island of Zealand bore forever the proof of Gefjon's power and the devotion of her strange, giant-born children. Though Gefjon is most remembered for her cunning with King Gylfi and the creation of Zealand, the skalds also sang of her gift of foresight, a power that bound her close to the mysteries of fate. She was not merely a goddess of plough and field, nor only a mother of strange sons, but also a seeress whose wisdom rivaled that of Odin himself. Gefjon's hall was said to be a place where mortals came seeking prophecy. Kings sent offerings of silver and cattle, hoping she would reveal the turn of battles or the fate of their heirs. Farmers prayed at her shrines, asking if the coming year would bring drought or plenty. Women sought her counsel in secret, yearning for children, and they believed she could loosen the knots of fate that bound barren wombs. To each she gave answers, but never freely. Gefjon's words came with riddles, with conditions, with choices that bound the seeker as much as they freed. Some skalds whispered that Odin himself learned from her. For while he sat on Hlidskjaf to look far across the worlds, Gefjon could peer into the deep weavings of time, glimpsing the threads themselves. Where Odin sought wisdom through sacrifice, runes, and the dead, Gefjon seemed to carry hers innately, as if she had always known. The two shared counsel in secret, and it was said Odin trusted her in matters of fate as he trusted none but Frigg. Her name, the Giver, reflected not only gifts of land and fertility, but also the gift of vision, the power to reveal paths unseen. Yet as she gave, she also took. A prophecy from Gefjon was never without cost, for in speaking truth she could strip away hope, and in offering knowledge she could take away peace. Many feared her for this reason, for while she was not cruel, she was relentless in her honesty. In the sagas, Gefjon appears as a guide to wanderers. Some tell that she led the first settlers to Zealand, showing them where to build their halls and farms. Others claim she guided lost travelers through forests, her voice like a whisper in the wind, steering them towards safety or doom according to her will. To women especially, she was a patroness, for she embodied independence and choice, free from bonds, yet powerful in her own right. She offered strength to those who called upon her. Thus Gefjon's role was more than that of a land shaper. She was a prophetess, a giver of fate's glimpses, a goddess whose wisdom was sought even by the highest of the Æsir. Her words carried both hope and dread, for in her gaze lay the clear reflection of what must come, unsoftened, unhidden. In this, she was feared, revered, and remembered as one who walked ever close to the secrets of destiny. When the great age of the gods waned, and men turned their hearts to new faiths, the name of Gefjon did not wholly vanish. For though temples crumbled and sacrifices ceased, her memory lingered in land and story. She was tied not only to Asgard but to the very earth of Midgard, and so long as Zealand rose from the sea, her tale could not be forgotten. In Denmark, kings traced their lineage to her, claiming descent from the goddess who had shaped their land. Skalds at court sang of Gefjon's plough, of her oxen-sons straining against the soil, of her cunning bargain with Gylfi. Her story became one of sovereignty, of how Denmark itself was a divine gift, wrested by wit and strength from a foreign king. To the Danes, this was no mere myth but a charter of their land, a reminder that their soil was sacred, marked by the hands of a goddess. Even in Sweden, where Gylfi had been deceived, Gefjon's tale endured, though with bitterness. The great lake Vänern, whose shape mirrored Zealand, stood as a wound in the earth, a reminder of the goddess's cunning. Some spoke of it with awe, others with warning, saying that no man should bargain with one of the Æsir lest he be undone. Thus Gefjon became a figure of both admiration and fear, a giver of gifts, but also a taker who left emptiness behind. As centuries passed, chroniclers of later days, writing in the age of Christianity, still preserved her name. In the Prose Edda she is remembered, not only as the land shaper but as a virgin goddess whom Odin gave to those who died unwed. To these souls she offered comfort, granting them a place among her company. Thus she stood as a patroness of the unattached, the unbound, those who walked through life without husband or wife. In folk memory she became a shadowed figure, half forgotten yet still tied to fertility, land, and foresight. Farmers swore by her name in whispers, fishermen spoke of her blessing upon new waters, and women remembered her as one who gave children to the barren. Even when her worship was gone, her presence lingered like a ghost in the fields, a goddess whose power could not be wholly erased. Thus Gefjon's myth lived on, carried not only in the words of skalds but in the soil itself. The shape of Zealand was her monument, the waters of Vänern her scar, and the memory of her cunning her legacy. She was not the most famous of the goddesses, nor the most beloved, yet she was never forgotten. For in her myths she embodied sovereignty, independence, and the power of women to shape their own fate, and even kings could not stand against her will. So the skalds sang, Gefjon, the giver and the taker, the mother of lands, the virgin goddess of freedom, whose plough carved kingdoms and whose foresight rivaled Odin's. And though the old gods faded, her story endured, etched forever in the land itself.